it's helpful to conceptualize human storytelling about origins in terms of five cultural periods that each was marked by its own particular story. The longest period that we've existed was the tribal shamanic period, and that goes back at least 40,000, probably over 100,000 years. The Neolithic village period, only really recently discovered through the work of Maria Gimbutas, Rian Eisler, and a few others, lasted about 7,000 years, and it was sandwiched between the nomadic tribal period and the early classical civilizational period, which comes next. And that's lasted close to 4,500 years, ending with the scientific industrial period. This period can probably be subdivided into a couple of others, but roughly the storyline has remained consistent for that entire period. Then we come to the industrial scientific period, which continues into the present, and if it continues into the future, it will represent the great unraveling. We're at a point where we can challenge that with new ideas and new knowledge and new science, and we can bring into the human experience the ecological period, which has now been around about 45 years and is in many segments of the culture growing. We're going to start with the tribal shamanic and just talk a little bit about that. As I mentioned, it's been by far the longest cultural period. Began in prehistory and led up till the moment farming was discovered. And the core cultural story goes something like this. We are the only people. We are the people of the earth. The plants and animals, mountains and streams, sky and moon are all brothers and sisters. All things are based on balance and relationship. All things are imbued with the spirit of creation and creator. 12,000 years ago, with the invention of farming, the discovery of agriculture, a new cultural period begins. This Neolithic village period lasted close to 7,000 years, and the core cultural story during this time, from all the iconographic evidence and archaeological evidence, goes something like this. The earth has great abundance, and the Great Mother resides there. We work together, we share, and we trade with other peoples. Men and women have important roles, and they share power together in partnership. We don't have great differences in wealth and power. With the discovery of bronze, the beginning of literacy, the discovery of horses, and the invasion into these Neolithic agricultural villages of these nomadic horsemen, there was a reconsecration of all these goddess-worshipping groups to male patriarchal god-worshipping groups. And a new cultural period really begins, the classical civilizational period, that lasted about 4,500 years. Again, this could be broken down into a few sub-periods. But the cultural story, the core beliefs, have remained largely the same during this time. And the story went something like this. We are God's chosen ones to rule and have dominion over all things of this earth. Arts, science, math, music, which are all flourishing, are expressions of the mind of God. God is a male, and men are best suited to rule on earth, with women subordinate to men. About 500 years ago, when Copernicus discovers that the sun-centered universe is actually the world we live in, a new cultural period begins. This was marked by a real separation between religion and science. Science focusing on largely a materialistic universe, meaning all things were mechanisms, and religion focusing on redemption, or being redeemed from this earthly existence. This was also prompted in part by the Black Death in Europe, which led people to fear nature and fear the earth and fear God, and want to do things to be redeemed. This cultural period, the industrial scientific period, it continues up to the present, and its core cultural story over these 500 years has been the world and physical matter are part of a large mechanism or machine. God is in heaven, and religion will give us a glorious afterlife. The many new and accelerating discoveries in science and technology will eventually cure all disease, end all human physical toil, and solve our many social problems. The resources of this earth are here to be used by us to these ends. And beginning about 50 years ago, most notably with the publication of Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, we began to have strong evidence that we are damaging the earth, and a new cultural period began. The cultural story of this ecological or ecozoic period goes something like this, and it may continue into the future. This will become the Great Turning. Our planet is living. Our planet calls on us to return to our stewardship role. We come from common origins in the evolution of life. The universe is emerging all the time into greater complexity. Together we can heal the planet. All peoples share a common history and must build a mutually beneficial future. The earth is our home. Join us at Manzanita as we tell a new story.